My 42-year-old husband chose to walk away with nothing for a college girl, and I didn't try to stop him. I only want freedom. He gleefully abandoned the real estate and rushed off to meet the girl, their sweetness on full display. He thought that without the house or the car I'd be miserable, but my card still held an 8-figure sum he knew nothing about. On my wedding day, my ex called like a man possessed, sobbing and asking why I hadn't waited for him. My new husband snatched the phone and said coldly, "You don't even qualify as scum." My ex's world collapsed in an instant. What he regretted wasn't losing the money, it was losing me, the best ace he'd ever held in life. Before we go on, please subscribe and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. Today is our 20th wedding anniversary. The table is draped with the new velvet tablecloth I bought. At its center the decanter is breathing, the 82 Lafite releasing its dark, heady fruit. Candlelight shivers across the beef Wellington I spent the afternoon on, the golden crust gleaming like temptation itself. I sit at the table, waiting quietly for my husband, Jason. The wall clock shows 11. The steak is cold. My heart has been cold for a long time. Keys jangle in the entry, the door swings open and a lurching silhouette stumbles in. Heavy perfume, nothing I wear, cloys the air, syrupy sweet laced with liquor, a bodiless all boring into my sinuses. Jason is home. He takes in the spread and shows no delight, only naked annoyance and a smirk. "What's all this for, tiring yourself out?" He yanks off his tie, tosses his jacket onto the sofa. I see it, a fresh, scarlet hickey on his neck, a medal of infamy glinting under the warm bulb. Inside, I am calm, so calm it startles me. Perhaps when disappointment is piled to the sky, all that's left is Morgan. "Jason, let's talk," I say, voice level, as though remarking on the weather. He drops into the sofa, waving me off. "What's there to talk about?" "Tomorrow." I'm beat. "Then let's talk divorce." The words leave my lips softly, yet they blow him upright like a bomb. He skewers me with a glare, wounded ego flaring into outrage. "Joanna, what the hell are you on about?" I ignore the tantrum and slide a folder across the coffee table. "The divorce papers, I've already signed." He freezes, lifts the document, disbelief blooms into glee before he pastes on a weighty pity. "Joanna, are you sure? 20 years, I thought we had an understanding. Since you insist on ripping the curtain, I won't hide anymore." He clears his throat, arranging his face into tragic tenderness. "I've fallen in love, Mia, she's 21, a fresh flower. With her I feel alive. But you, Joanna, look at you, stagnant water, dull, lifeless. Every clause once sliced me, tonight they're simply farce." He points to the asset split column, victory splitting his face. "The house, the company, all yours." I walk away with nothing. He lifts his eyes, pitying, as though beholding an abandoned puppy. "I only want freedom and my Mia. Joanna, I know it's brutal, but you'll have to survive without me. The firm's drowning in crushing debt, basically a shell company, but it's still a name, the roof keeps the rain off. Consider it payment for 20 years of service." His tone drips benevolence, as if dumping garbage on me is grace. I stare at that self-satisfied mask and realize the whole marriage was a joke. Calmly, I voice the question buried for years. "Jason, just answer me one thing. That $5 million seed check that launched this firm, did you win the lottery?" His face stiffens, gaze flicking away. Then, tail stepped on, he snarls. "Why drag that up now? I earned that investment." "What's it to you? Don't push me, Joanna. I've been more than fair." I don't argue. Arguing with a man drowning in his own lies is pointless. I lift the pen and sign, Joanna, swift, decisive. He hadn't expected it so fast, it throws him. He searches my face for collapse, finds none. Too calm. He frowns, eyes narrowing. "You, okay?" Don't snap from the shock. Clutching the papers like a passport to paradise, he pops up. At the door he tosses back one last morsel of kindness. "Oh, drop by the city welfare office, see if you qualify for benefits. Without me you can't even cover next month's HOA fee." The door slams. Silence, at last. I drift to the window, watch his BMW tear into the night and vanish. I pick up my phone, dial a number I know by heart. A steady male baritone answers. "Jordan, Walter, green light. Initiate Plan B, copy, Jordan." All assets locked and loaded. I return to the living room. The financial he sneered at still lies on the coffee table, bleeding red ink. I feed it, page by page, into the shredder. The metallic gnash sounds like a dirge for the fool I'd been for 20 years. I open my laptop, blue glow washes over my face. No tears, no sorrow. On the screen, my private brokerage ledger, portfolio value, a neat string of digits, 9 figures, wealth Jason could never imagine. His so-called generosity, the debt-saddled shell, was bait so he'd leave smiling. His proud walkout, my final gift of dignity. Jason's freedom was loud. The morning the decree was stamped, his Instagram refreshed, a geotagged Paris snapshot. Under the Eiffel Tower he kisses Mia, grinning like a kid with candy. Caption, breathing free air at last, shook off the dead weight, new life starts now. Every word a slap at the ex-wife he thinks is drowning. Our mutual friends rushed to DM. Some raged on my behalf, some offered pep talks, others fished for gossip. College bestie Lily called, cursing loud enough to break the speaker. Joanna, did you see? That ingrate. Not even human. You let him off too easy. I only smiled. Good for him, may his freedom last forever. I hung up, opened the nauseating kiss photo, deleted him. Silence. Days later Jason noticed, used my digits to text. Friend request, look at me, then look at you. I accepted. Instantly he served a Maldives beach shot, bare-chested, bikini-clad Mia wrapped around him, turquoise horizon blazing. See, Joanna, this is living. Bet you're sweating the utility bill. Want a loan from your favorite ex? I read, ignored, blacked the screen. Nothing to say to a man tap dancing on the edge of a cliff. I not a crisp blazer, dust on subtle makeup, the mirror shows clear eyes, sharp cheekbones, no trace of Quinn. I summon Jason's tech director, Zachary, brilliant, sidelined, suffocated under Jason for years. In the cafe he fidgets. Ex-boss lady, you wanted me? I slide a blue mountain toward him. Call me Jordan, Casey. I hand over a contract. Triple salary, 15% founding equity in the new shop. His hand trembles, he can't believe the numbers. Before the shock settles I push another folder across the table. Here's the business plan for my new project, take a look first. Zachary adjusted his glasses and leafed through it page by page, his eyes growing wider, his breathing quicker. When he reached the last page he jerked his head up, voice quivering with excitement. Jordan. This proposal, the technical concepts in here are at least 5 years ahead of that garbage plan Riley was pushing. I lifted my coffee, took a small sip, and smiled. Riley's ideas are nothing more than rough notes I tossed on scrap paper 5 years ago. Zachary was frozen. He stared at me, awe and sudden understanding flooding his gaze. I get it now, Jordan. I'm in, whatever you need. Everything unfolded with uncanny smoothness. Over the next 3 days I used the same method to meet, one by one, with Jason's marketing director, key engineers, and most important clients. The terms I offered were benefits and horizons Jason could never match. I quickly incorporated a new company and named it Sunray Technology. For the office I deliberately chose the top floor suite with the best view, directly across the street from Jason's sterling construction. 3 days. Jason's core technical staff and biggest client accounts crossed over to me, lured by sheer upside and a grander future. The whole time Jason was busy posting on Instagram snapshots of a lavish dinner with Mia at Dubai's sail-shaped hotel. He had no idea I had quietly yanked every block from the foundation of his so-called empire. He thought he was leaving me a rotting hulk. He never guessed I was stripping that hulk's most valuable parts to forge myself an aircraft carrier nothing can sink. Money for a world tour burns faster than Jason ever imagined. His savings evaporated under Mia's non-stop designer sprees and 5-star benders. When the two of them finally flew home, still hungry for more, expecting to walk back into Sterling and resume life as CEO, he was dumbstruck. Sterling Construction. Once thriving floors now stood empty, only a few stray sheets of paper pirouetted beneath the air-conditioning vents. Desks wore a thin film of dust, and a handful of red overdue notices and lawyer letters glared from the surfaces. Where is everyone? Are they all dead? Jason's roar echoed through the hollow office, impotent and absurd. Mia wrinkled her nose and fanned the air. What a dump, it reeks. Jason, how did your company end up like this? Jason's face turned livid. He frantically dialed Zachary and other executives. Every call went straight to voicemail. In the end the building's cleaning lady took pity and offered a clue. Riley, you didn't know? Your people all jumped to that new firm across the street. Across the street? Jason rushed to the window and spotted the brand new, blazing sign on the tower opposite, Sunray Technology. Sunray. Joanna, realization hit, blood filled his eyes. He stormed toward the other tower with Mia clacking after him in stilettos. Right then I was in Sunray's sunlit conference room kicking off the project with my new team. I wore a tailored Chanel blazer, hair swept up to show my neck, firing off market numbers with crisp precision. The woman in an apron, face bare, answering to the name he might as well have been someone else's memory. The door burst open. Jason barreled in like a raging bull, Mia on his heels. He stabbed a finger at me and screamed, "Joanna, you viper! You stole my company, my people." Everyone shot to their feet, stunned. I didn't even rise. I simply lifted my eyes and told security, calm and cold, "I don't know this man. He seems unstable and is interrupting our meeting. Show him out." Guards stepped forward to seize him. Zachary, once Jason's respectful tech chief, now blocked their path and faced his former boss. "Riley, show some respect. This is Sunray, and she is our Jordan." "Jordan?" Jason barked a laugh. "She's nothing, just a washed-up housewife who can't live without a man." Mia hooked her arm through his and spoke in a sing-song of triumph. Well, big sis, found yourself a new sugar daddy? You look almost like a real CEO in that outfit." Her gaze crawled over my haute couture suit, envy dripping. I rose slowly, crossed to her, and let my eyes drift to the crooked logo knockoff dress clinging to her body. A faint smile curved my lips. "Sweetheart, aim higher. Wear fakes too long and you start to feel cheap." Mia's face flushed red, words failed her. Jason froze, mouth opening and closing, no sound. The Joanna he remembered was docile, long-suffering, a woman who'd weep in silence. He had never seen me razor sharp. I turned my back on them and addressed the room, people who had once worked for him and now trusted me, raising my voice. "Everyone, to celebrate our Sunray 1 project's first triumph, and the closing of our seed round. Tonight I'm treating you all to Global 1 Private Club. We drink till we drop." "Yeah." The team erupted, cheers shaking the glass walls, every face lit with victory. The roar reduced Jason and Mia to clownish gatecrashers, pathetic, out of place. As security escorted them out, I caught Mia's shrill demand. "Jason! You swore she couldn't breathe without you, what the hell happened?" The smile on my lips deepened. "Jason, this is only the beginning. Global 1 Private Club, the city's top venue. I'd booked the largest private suite. The party was already white-hot when we arrived. Young engineers belted out songs, clinking glasses, savoring their first big win. After 3 rounds the door opened, the manager ushered a man inside. Late 30s, impeccably cut charcoal suit, tall, composed, effortlessly elegant. The room quieted a notch when he entered. I stood and walked over. "Grant, glad you made it." Grant, founder of Horizon Capital and the angel investor who had just signed Sunray's first check, also my college classmate. He lifted his glass, dark eyes smiling. "Joanna, I always knew you were never meant to stay in someone's shadow. I read your deck, brilliant work." We stepped into a quieter corner and reminisced about university business simulation contests. He laughed softly. "Even then your instincts and logic outclassed everyone. I remember thinking whoever married you would hit the jackpot. Never imagined someone would be blind enough to treat a diamond like gravel." I shrugged. "Maybe he wasn't blind, I chose to bury myself for 20 years. Well, time to shine again." "Exactly." His gaze turned fierce, sincere. "Whenever you need it, Horizon can be your strongest backer." Just then the door slammed open again. Jason stumbled in, reeking of liquor. Clearly he'd weaseled his way in out of spite. The instant he saw Grant and me standing together, side by side, his eyes bloodshot. Envy and rage coiled in him like vipers. He lurched forward, jabbed a finger at me, and barked at Grant. "Cameron! It's you, Cameron from Horizon. Don't be fooled by this woman. She's a gold digger, divorced me 1 minute and latched onto you the next. She'll do anything for money." He thought his tirade would strip me bare in front of my investor. Grant didn't even grace him with a glance. Instead he turned, gave me a gentle smile, steady, reassuring. "Looks like your ex is not only blind but brain dead as well." Only then did Grant face Jason, warmth flipping to ice. "First, Joanna is my honored guest tonight. Second, after rigorous board review, Horizon Capital is officially leading Sunray's Series A, at $1 billion. $1 billion? Jason felt as if lightning had struck him, his whole body went rigid, and he began to stammer, muttering to himself. "Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. Where did she get a company? She's nothing but a clueless Quinn." A cold curve tugged at Grant's lips as he mercilessly punctured the last bubble of Jason's delusion. "Quinn? Jason, Did you honestly believe that puny empire of yours was something you earned on your own? Who pulled in your very first investment when the company was founded? Who stayed up night after night drafting every early project proposal, every crisis PR plan? Without Joanna covering your back, plotting your next step, building every bridge, you wouldn't even be qualified to mop the floors at Horizon Capital. Each sentence Grant spoke was a razor-sharp blade, slicing straight into Jason's heart, stripping away that pathetic shell of arrogance until nothing was left. Jason's face flushed scarlet, then drained to paper white. He staggered back 2 steps, genuine panic and disbelief flashing in his eyes for the first time. He looked at me as though I were some alien creature he'd never seen. The club's security burst in again and hauled the drunken, raving man out. Watching Jason dragged away like a lost soul, I knew the cat-and-mouse game had only just begun. Grant turned back to me, apology in his eyes. Sorry for interrupting your celebration. I shook my head and raised my glass. No, you just made this celebration mean something. We exchanged a smile, everything was understood without words. Grant's speech became the final straw that broke Jason. The construction tycoon he'd been courting terminated their joint project the moment he learned Jason had offended Horizon Capital and that the company's core team had already been poached by me. The banks began demanding loan repayment. Sterling Construction, already teetering, collapsed for good. Battered from all sides, Jason came home to me as nonstop quarrels and complaints. Jason, didn't you say you were amazing? Didn't you say you were a big shot? Where's my new handbag? Where's the sports car I picked out for next month? Where's the money? The coy true love Mia used to show had vanished, replaced by a venomous sneer. Forced to downgrade from designer boutiques to street-side malletang, she fumed at the cornered. Jason started begging the buddies who once called him brother. He wanted a comeback. He wined and dined them, fishing for investment, only to find that the same sycophants now dodged his calls. Jason, it's not that I won't help, you've pissed off someone you shouldn't have. Who? Who did I piss off? Who else? Your ex-wife Joanna. The whole city knows she's Cameron's favorite at Horizon Capital. Small fry like us can't afford to antagonize that goddess. The line clicked dead. Jason stared at his phone for a long, long time. Only then did the dull realization hit. Every connection he'd prided himself on, every thread in the network he thought his charisma had woven, had in fact been mine. Before every banquet I had prepped the perfect talking points and gifts. I had memorized every partner's preferences and family details and reminded him to send holiday greetings. Behind his back, I had quietly maintained it all. Once the person leaves, the tea cools overnight. Meanwhile, Sunray Tech, now backed by Horizon's deep pockets, charged ahead at full speed. Our smart home ecosystem, Sunray One, detonated across tech blogs and trading floors the moment it launched. Orders snowballed in. I gave a cover story interview to the country's top business magazine, appearing as the year's most watched female entrepreneur. In the photo I wore a crisp white pantsuit, hair softly waved, eyes steady and luminous, radiant confidence frozen in print. Jason saw that issue at a sidewalk newsstand. His eyes reddened the instant he recognized the woman who once cooked for him alone, the woman whose world had revolved around him, now admired by the planet. And that glory, he believed, should have belonged to him. No, in his mind it had been entirely his. It was Joanna, that viper, who had stolen everything. Jealousy and resentment scorched his reason like acid. He lunged forward, tore every copy on the rack to shreds, while pedestrians gawked and whispered. That night he called me. His voice, once cocky and mocking, was now tentative, almost soft. Joanna, was it ever us? Could there be some misunderstanding between us? I didn't bother to answer, I simply ended the call. Then I blocked his number for good. A short while later Grant drove me home. Under the apartment building moonlight he studied my calm profile and asked quietly, "Need me to clean up the rest of the mess he makes?" His gaze was gentle yet intent. I shook my head, a small curve on my lips. No. If the mouse dies too quickly, the cat's game ends in boredom. Seeing the mischievous spark in my eyes, he laughed in spite of himself. All right, your call. He asked nothing more, just stood beside me in comfortable silence. That feeling of being understood, of being respected, was something I'd never tasted in 20 years of marriage. Sterling Construction finally filed for bankruptcy. Jason's only remaining asset, the marital condo he had once graciously signed over to me but which I'd never bothered to transfer, was seized and auctioned to cover company debts. He was truly left with nothing. He hoped to sell the hollow shell of the firm for whatever scraps he could use to pay private lenders. The bankruptcy auction room felt as heavy as a morgue. Jason sat in a corner wearing a washed-out suit, gaunt, looking a decade older overnight. The once dashing Riley now resembled a prisoner awaiting sentence. The auctioneer stepped up and rapped his gavel. Next lot, Sterling Construction Limited, entire assets to be sold as a bundle, inclusive of corporate brand, remaining office equipment, and all intangible assets. Opening bid, $1. A dead hush fell, $1. An insult price, signaling the company was now considered worthless. Jason's head drooped lower. He could feel the pity, the ridicule, the schadenfreude boring into him. His last shred of dignity was being trampled underfoot. Seconds crawled by, no paddle rose. Just as the auctioneer was about to declare a pass, a suited man in the back lifted his card with quiet calm. Bidder number one, $1. Jason jerked his head up and followed the gesture. When he recognized the bidder, my newly appointed chief counsel, Taylor, realization slammed into him like a thunderclap. Joanna, it's her. The answer to every confusion, every question, detonated in his skull. Like a mad beast he vaulted from his seat, lunged at Walter, and clutched the lawyer's collar. It's Joanna. She put you up to this, didn't she? Why is she doing this? What the hell does she want? Walter calmly peeled the fingers away, straightened his tie, and replied in a level voice, Sam, please observe order. This is a lawful commercial act. Sunray Tech has an interest in acquiring Sterling's brand. I wasn't physically there. I sat in Sunray's corner office and watched the livestream, face impassive. No thrill of revenge, no pity, only the quiet of inevitability. This company was one I had built for him brick by brick. Taking it back now was justice in its purest form. Security shoved Jason into his chair. He slumped, eyes hollow. At last he understood. The drained talent pool, the investors who vanished, none of it was coincidence. It was a hunt long in the making. And he had been the quarry dancing on Joanna's palm. Everything he had taken from me, I would reclaim, legally, ruthlessly, with interest. When the gavel fell, I pulled out my old SIM and tapped a final message. The company you once gifted me? I'm returning it. $1, keep the change. Sent. I snapped the card in half and dropped it in the trash. From this moment, Jason and I are strangers forever. After the bankruptcy, Mia's true love reached its expiry date. Her greed finally tore off its mask. One midnight she vanished with the last $20,000 Jason had hidden inside his shoe, his rent money, leaving not even a shadow behind. The instant Jason realized both money and people had vanished, he almost lost his mind. He called and texted, but all he got back was deathly silence. He told himself Mia had simply flounced off in a huff and, once he rose again, she would drift back to his side. He had no idea that Mia came straight to me. She rang, inviting me to a cafe. Over the line her voice carried the smug triumph of someone clutching blackmail material. Jordan, I think we should meet. I've got some real dynamite on your ex. You'll want to hear it. I arrived on time. Mia sat at the table under heavy makeup, a brand new rayon dress clinging to her, yet the cheap fabric couldn't hide how cornered she felt. She lifted her chin, striving for arrogance the moment she saw me. Joanna, let me cut to the chase. She spread 5 fingers. 500 grand. Hand me $500,000 and I'll tell you exactly how Jason siphoned off your money before the divorce. I'll give you every ledger and bank slip you need to sue him and claw back what's yours. She still believed I was the financially clueless woman who let men pull the wool over her eyes. She thought she owned leverage. I looked at her self-satisfied little face, and laughed. I laughed so loudly the next table turned to stare. Mia bristled, snapping, "What's so funny? Don't you dare ignore me." I leaned in, eyes locked on hers, and spoke one deliberate word at a time. Mia, do you honestly think you're clever? You imagine I didn't know about every dollar Jason moved? Let me share a secret. Every cent he sneaked overseas had to detour through my personal account for laundering first. Those Hermes bags, those Chanel jackets he bought you, guess whose balance got lighter? Mine. Mia's pupils shrank to pinpoints, every trace of color drained from her face. She gaped, mouth a perfect O, speechless. I didn't let her breathe. And the 20 grand you grabbed from Jason at dawn, stuffed onto a debit card, right? That card is an old supplemental I opened years ago, piggybacking on my main account. The pin is my birthday. Tell me, if I want that money back, could I fail? She started to tremble, purse strap rattling against the chair. Terror filled her eyes. She was staring at a demon. She'd fancied herself the Oriole behind the mantis, but the hunter on the ridge with the slingshot had always been me. I lifted my cappuccino and sipped slowly. 500 grand? Not happening. But I'm in a generous mood, so I won't dial 911 and report the theft. Take your 20,000, crawl out of this city, and never show your face again. My voice was soft, each word a frigid stone dropped on her heart. She scooped up her bag, half-tumbled from the chair, and bolted. So-called true love, so-called irreplaceable, crumpled the instant hard cash walked out. Abandoned by all, pockets empty, Jason finally tasted society's raw knuckles. He hunted for work, only to find his only marketable skills were swagger and flattery. Every pivotal proposal, every polished pitch deck he'd boasted about, had been drafted by me. He couldn't even cobble together a decent resume. Day labor on construction sites became his lot, sweat wages for the heaviest chores. He rented a dank basement in the old quarter, instant noodles his nightly fare. One evening, expired noodles clawed at his stomach. He curled on the cot, drenched in cold sweat. In the haze of pain he remembered nights when he'd stagger home drunk and I'd rise, no matter the hour, to pour ginger soup, set antacids, and warm water on his nightstand. Needing a clean shirt for an interview, he rummaged through a suitcase, only wrinkled rags reeking of cheap detergent and mildew. Then it struck him, 20 years of freshly starched shirts, ties matched, hung ready by my hand. He tried calling a former client, but coherent talking points wouldn't come. Only then did he recall every crucial negotiation, the PowerPoints I prepped, the scripts I drafted, the cue-dotted trees I rehearsed with him until dawn. In the mirror he confronted a stubbled, sunken-eyed, silver-streaked wreck, and, for the first time, doubted the talent he'd bragged about. Without me, he was nothing. Regret surged in like the tide. He began to call and text like a man possessed. Blocked, he bought burner after burner. Joanna, I was wrong, I see it now. 20 years, can you really be this heartless? My stomach is on fire and there's no one to bring water. Please, just once. Remember the gray scarf you knitted for my birthday? I still wrap it around my neck. I glanced at the ceaseless pop-up alerts from unknown numbers and felt only bleak amusement. I snapped a screenshot and forwarded it to Grant. Seconds later his reply landed. He's not mourning you. He's mourning the live-in maid who answered every beck and call. He's mourning the ATM that funded his extravagance. He's mourning the ghostwriter who let him bask in glory he never earned. What he misses are your functions, Joanna, not your soul. Grant's razor words slashed away the last cobweb. Jason had never loved anyone but himself. I inhaled, dragged the newest unknown digits into the blacklist. His remorse, his bonfire, their heat would never again reach me. He was only a grown infant howling after the loss of his supply line. At Sunray's glittering first anniversary gala, Grant and I stepped onto the dais as business partners of the year. Spotlights blazed, moguls and media filled the ballroom. I stood in a silver gown, poised under the glare. The MC passed Grant the mic for the customary speech. Instead of forecasting markets, he turned, his calm gaze softened as it met mine. Then, before 1,000 titans and lenses, he lowered one knee to the floor. Gasps rippled, flashbulbs detonated like galaxies. From his jacket he drew a velvet box, flicked it open, and revealed a diamond that caught every shard of light. Joanna. His voice carried through the hall. 20 years ago in the campus library, the hunger for ideas in your eyes stopped my heart. I was too young, too timid, and I let the moment pass. 2 decades later I watched your brilliance smothered by grocery lists, and it ached me. Tonight, watching you blaze on the stage you were born for, I feel only pride. Everyone sees the glory, I see the invisible grit, sleepless nights, and steel will it cost you. You belong to no one, stand in no one's shadow. You are the light, singular, incomparable. I lost you once. I will not lose you again. Will you marry me? First, stunned hush. Then, thunderclap applause and cheers. Tears blurred the ballroom into starlight as I nodded, laughing, and stretched out my hand. Yes. Grant slipped the ring home, rose, and folded me into an embrace that sealed 20 years. The moment streamed live across every screen in the city. In a smoky internet cafe Jason cradled another foam cup of ramen, eyes glazed at the monitor. When the feed cut to the ballroom, to radiant me and Grant on one knee, to the vow that echoed through speakers, he froze, spoon halfway to his lips. Jealousy, regret, unwillingness, rage, every tangled emotion fused into a giant net that wrapped itself around him until he couldn't breathe. He stared at the screen, the woman cradled in Grant's arms, smiling as if the world were made of sunlight, the same woman he once dismissed as worthless. A sharp crack. He crushed the plastic ramen bowl in his fist. Boiling broth splashed across his hand, but he felt nothing. All he could do was glare at the image and mutter, over and over, "That was mine. She was supposed to be mine. That spot should have been mine." But in this world there is no supposed to. Every loss was his own doing, because he had never cherished a single thing. On the eve of my wedding Jason finally went insane. Like a ghost, he began haunting every corner of my life. Outside my office, at the garage door of my condo, even in front of the restaurant Grant and I frequented. Disheveled, eyes rabid with obsession, he kept lunging at me and was blocked every time by Grant's bodyguards. He dropped to his knees, wailing, drawing a gawking crowd. "Joanna! Come out! You can't marry him. Just see me once. Joanna, I know I was wrong. Give me one last chance and I'll be your ox, your horse, I'll do anything." His performance was crude, clownish. Finally, when he burst past the guards and threw himself in front of my car, I told the driver to stop. I stepped out, looked down at the man kneeling and sobbing, and felt nothing. Seeing me, he clutched at straws, crawling forward to grab my ankle. "Joanna! You'll see me, I knew you still care." I studied his once handsome face, now gaunt from binge drinking and self-neglect, and asked quietly, "Jason, do you love me?" He froze, then nodded like a frantic chicken. "I do. I love you. Mia is nothing next to you." I laughed, a laugh laced with acid. "No, Jason, you don't love me. You love the package labeled Joanna, the one that lets you shine in public, greets you with hot soup at home, rescues your company in crisis, and massages your pathetic male ego. What you miss are my functions, never my person." My voice stayed soft, but each word was a scalpel flaying his pretenses. His face drained to chalk. I pressed on. "You thought I didn't know? When you demanded the divorce and agreed to walk away with nothing, you were counting cards. You bet that after 20 years of obedience I couldn't survive without you. You waited for the day I'd crawl back in tears, begging for shelter. Then you could keep the young girl for thrills and me for convenience, two women dancing in your palms. Jason, your flaw isn't stupidity. It's malice. It's incurable selfishness carved into your bones." Every sentence hammered a nail into the pillar of shame until he hung there, skinned alive. He remained on his knees, mouth open, "Dylan," but no retort came, because every syllable was true. Grant's car eased to the curb. He stepped out, slipped his suit jacket over my shoulders, and drew me close. Without even glancing at Jason he spoke, voice arctic. "Scram, don't pollute her sight." Our ceremony took place in a clifftop castle overlooking the sea. White roses blanketed the lawn, the air thick with gardenia and joy. In my ivory gown I walked down the aisle on Grant's arm while friends and family beamed. The priest had just asked whether we would stay true for life. We were moments from slipping on the rings. My spare phone in my clutch began to vibrate like crazy. It was the one number I hadn't blocked, Jason's. I meant to reject the call, but Grant squeezed my hand and gave a slight nod. His eyes said, "Answer, let him hear. End the filth, once and for all." I thumbed accept and tapped speaker. Jason's unhinged shriek burst through the chapel. "Joanna! How could you do this, you bitch? Why didn't you wait for me to turn back? 20 years of marriage. I'm your husband. How dare you marry someone else?" Before I could speak Grant lifted the phone from my palm. His calm, glacial voice rolled across the nave. "Sam, first, her husband is now me." The line fell dead silent. Grant paused, then continued in the same flat tone. "Second, scum comes in many varieties. Some scumbags are rotten but still get second chances. Some are useless but still trade on their looks. You, Jamie, are a parasite that dies once it leaves its host. You drank her blood, basked in her nutrients, then blamed the host for not shining bright enough. Therefore, you don't even qualify as scum." Silence answered him, until a clatter cracked through the speaker, the sound of a phone shattering on concrete, followed by Jason's animal howl of collapse. Grant ended the call and handed the device to my maid of honor. He turned to me, tenderness back in his smile. "Now nothing is in our way, my wife." He slid the eternity band onto my finger. I smiled up at him. Yes, nothing stood between us. My cards, my light, my future all turned to a brand new chapter from this second onward. 1 year later Sunray and Horizon Capital officially merged, forming the nation's largest tech investment group, Sunray Horizon. As co-chairman we rang the opening bell together. I wore scarlet silk, my belly just beginning to curve. Grant kept a protective arm around me, pride spilling from every glance. Our photo splashed across every finance front page. On the ride home the car stopped at a red light. I glanced out the window. A figure, familiar yet alien, shuffled between lanes, mechanically stuffing flyers for a pawn shop under windshield wipers. Jason. A cheap uniform hung from his bony frame. He looked 60 though he wasn't yet 40, gaunt, vacant, a walking corpse. He sensed my gaze and looked up. Our eyes met through the tinted glass. For a heartbeat his face twisted. Then the light in his eyes snuffed out. He lowered his head, pupils hollow, no hatred, no envy, no fight left, only endless, hopeless remorse. At last he understood. He hadn't merely lost a wife and a home, he'd forfeited the best, strongest, only ace life would ever deal him. The light turned green. The car glided forward. Grant laced his fingers through mine and asked softly, still thinking about him? I shook my head and leaned against his shoulder, watching the city blur past. No. Just looking at a stranger who has nothing to do with me. Yes, a stranger. Whether his road now leads to hell or nowhere, it is no longer my concern. My ace, my brilliance, will shine only for the one who merits it. And my future, under his watch, will stay radiant, blooming with every mile we travel. Thank you for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If you liked it, please like and share. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more tales. See you next time.